Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. President Trump kept the tariff threat alive, warning that now levies on imported automobiles could kick in as early as April 2. Over in Taiwan, President Lai Ching-te has promised to engage with U.S. officials over Trump's concerns about the chip industry, pledging that Taiwan will invest more, buy more from the U.S., and ramp up its defense spending. And finally, in a significant development from Gaza, Israeli hostages have been released as part of a ceasefire deal. And the news starts now. President Trump kept the tariff threat alive, warning that now levies on imported automobiles could kick in as early as April 2.
No, literally, we had it planned for April 1st. I said, let's make it April 2nd. You know how much money that costs? That costs a lot of money just that one day, but we're going to do it on April 2nd, I think. Is that right?
That's right.
Now, he didn't give many details before heading off to his Florida estate for the weekend. Trump has long argued that U.S. auto exports are being treated unfairly abroad, pointing to a 10% tariff on vehicles in the EU compared to just 2.5% on U.S. cars and a steep 25% on imported pickups. Meanwhile, nearly a quarter of all new vehicles sold in the U.S. last year were imported, though cars built in the U.S., Canada, or Mexico under the USMCA rules avoid these tariffs if at least 75% of their parts come from the region. With the trade pact set for review in 2026, many analysts see Trump's tariff comments as a possible opening move to renegotiate what he once called the greatest trade deal ever. At the Munich Security Conference, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance warned that free speech is in retreat across Europe, a comment that drew swift criticism from German officials. Meanwhile, Ukraine's President Zelensky said he won't meet with Putin until a united peace plan is secured with Trump and European leaders. Take a look.
In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance accused European leaders on Friday of censoring free speech and failing to control immigration in an address at the Munich Security Conference in Germany.
I really do believe that allowing our citizens to speak their mind will make them stronger still, which of course brings us back to Munich, where the organizers of this very conference have banned lawmakers representing populist parties on both the left and the right from participating in these conversations.
The comments drew a sharp rebuke from Germany's Defense Minister Boris Pistorius and overshadowed discussions on the war in Ukraine.
This democracy was called into question earlier by the U.S. Vice President for the whole of Europe. He spoke of the cancellation of democracy, and if I understood him correctly, he compared conditions in parts of Europe with those in authoritarian regimes. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not acceptable.
The clash underlined the divergent worldviews of U.S. President Donald Trump's new administration and European leaders, making it hard for longtime allies, the United States and Europe, to find common ground on issues including Ukraine. The war-torn country's President Volodymyr Zelensky told the conference that he would talk to Russian President Vladimir Putin only once Ukraine had agreed on a common plan with Trump and European leaders.
I will meet with Russians, with only one Russian guy, with Putin, only after we will have common plan with Trump, Europe, and we will sit with Putin and stop the war. Only in this case I'm ready to meet, not in other compromises platforms.
He also met with Vance to discuss the path forward. Both sides declined to give details of what they discussed, but the Ukrainian president reiterated that his country needs real security guarantees.
U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth rejected criticism of Washington's negotiating strategy with Russia on the war in Ukraine and warned Europe against treating America like a sucker by making it responsible for its defense.
After World War II, First General and then President Eisenhower, was one of NATO's strongest supporters. He believed in a strong relationship with Europe. However, by the end of Eisenhower's presidency, even he was concerned that Europe was not shouldering enough of its own defense, nearly making, in Eisenhower's words, quote, a sucker out of Uncle Sam. Well, like President Eisenhower, this administration believes in alliances, deeply believes in alliances. But make no mistake, President Trump will not allow anyone to turn Uncle Sam into Uncle Sucker.
Since the election, President Trump has advocated for a peace proposal that reportedly favors Russia by requiring Ukraine to cede territory. The administration's approach has raised concerns among European allies who fear being sidelined in the peace process. President Trump recently spoke by phone with Russian President Vladimir Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, urging both leaders to engage in peace talks. After his call with Putin, President Trump acknowledged Russia's firm stance against Ukraine joining NATO and indicated he had no objections to this position.
I don't think it's practical to have it, personally. I know that our new Secretary of Defense, who's excellent, Pete, made a statement today saying that he thinks it's unlikely or impractical. I think probably that's true. I think long before President Putin, they said there's no way they'd allow that. This has been going on for many, many years. They've been saying that for a long time, that Ukraine cannot go into NATO. And I'm okay with that. I just want the war, whether they are or they're not. But it certainly would seem to be that most people have said that that is something that's not going to happen.
Earlier, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated that the Trump administration doesn't view NATO membership for Ukraine as a realistic outcome of the nearly 4-year conflict.
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement. Instead, any security guarantee must be backed by capable European and non-European troops. If these troops are deployed as peacekeepers to Ukraine at any point, they should be deployed as part of a non-NATO mission, and they should not be covered under Article 5. There also must be robust international oversight of the line of contact. To be clear, as part of any security guarantee, there will not be U.S. troops deployed to Ukraine.
These developments suggest that any forthcoming peace deal may impede Ukraine's aspirations to join the world's largest peacetime military alliance. And we have an update from Gaza. Israeli hostages Eyar Horn, Sagi Dekel-Chen, and Sasha Truvanov returned today thanks to Egyptian and Qatari mediators. Their release helped defuse a tense standoff that was threatening a ceasefire, which has kept fighting at bay for nearly a month. Now, Hamas has confirmed that the three were freed as part of a deal that also sees 369 Palestinian prisoners and detainees exchanged.
Reunited with their families after more than 15 months in captivity. These 3 Israeli hostages were released by Hamas on Saturday after mediators helped avert a collapse of the fragile ceasefire. In exchange, Israel freed some 369 Palestinian prisoners and detainees who arrived home in buses to cheering crowds. Earlier, the 3 Israelis were led onto a stage in Khan Yunis, flanked by armed Hamas militants. They were then handed over to the Red Cross to be escorted to Israeli forces. Families watched the live broadcast as the trio was safely released. Many unable to contain their joy at seeing their loved ones again.
We saw him alive and walking on his own feet, and I can't explain. It's just so, and I don't have words for this.
Israeli forces transported the trio back to Israel via helicopter. where they received a hero's welcome. Busloads of Palestinian prisoners then arrived in Ramallah in the West Bank. This man said he had been detained for over 23 years, but that the last year and a half had been the most difficult. The swap allayed growing alarm that the ceasefire agreement could unravel before the end of its first stage. 19 Israeli and 5 Thai hostages have been released so far. 73 are still in captivity, with around half of them declared dead in absentia by Israeli authorities. Prospects for the survival of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas have been shaken by US President Donald Trump's call for Palestinians to be resettled permanently out of Gaza. Trump has said he wants the tiny enclave to be turned over to the US and redeveloped as a seaside resort. That idea has been rejected out of hand by Palestinian groups, Arab states, and Western allies of Washington.
Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia is leading a fresh approach to Gaza's future, one that offers an Arab vision as a clear alternative to President Trump's controversial plan for a Middle East Riviera without Palestinians. With Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and other Arab leaders pushing back, talks in Riyadh this month could reshape how Gaza is rebuilt and secure a future for its people.
Saudi Arabia is spearheading efforts to draw up an Arab vision for Gaza's future as an alternative to US President Donald Trump's plan for a Middle East Riviera cleared of Palestinians. 10 sources told Reuters the draft ideas will be discussed at a regional meeting in Riyadh this month. Arab states were aghast at Trump's plan to resettle Palestinians in Jordan and Egypt, which Cairo and Amman especially saw as deeply destabilizing. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS, had warm relations with Trump during the first administration, and he's central to Arab ties in the new Trump era. But the kingdom was angered by the US president's Gaza idea, which nixes its demand for a clear path to Palestinian statehood in return for normalizing Saudi ties with Israel. The death and destruction from Israel's bombardment of Gaza fueled Saudi public anger. And in November, the Crown Prince publicly accused Israel of genocide during an Islamic summit. One Arab government source said an Egyptian proposal was now emerging as frontrunner. It entails forming a national Palestinian committee to govern Gaza without Hamas. Gaza would be rebuilt with international and Gulf money, but without displacing Palestinians. There'd also be movement towards a two-state solution. That's according to 3 Egyptian security sources. A buffer zone and physical barrier would be erected to stop tunnels being built across Gaza's border with Egypt. As soon as rubble is removed, temporary living zones would be established. However, the most difficult issues around Gaza's governance, preventing Hamas playing a role, and internal security remain to be decided, an official said. Gulf states, which have historically paid for reconstruction in Gaza, have also said they don't want to do that again, without guarantees that Israel will leave standing what they rebuild. MBS is expanding Saudi Arabia's relationship with the United States through business and global power politics. Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund is holding a conference in Miami this month that Trump is expected to attend.
And to the U.S. now, here's a time-lapse video released by the public safety organization Alert California, based at the University of California, San Diego, showing the buildup of mud and debris in Sierra Madre, east of Los Angeles. This after heavy rains on Thursday. Now, mudslides are common occurrences following wildfires. 2 neighborhoods in Los Angeles, Pacific Palisades and Altadena, were devastated by wildfires, in which 29 people were killed. And severe weather storms impacted major cities across Canada. According to local media, Ottawa saw its heaviest storm since 2022, bringing 32 centimeters or 1 foot of snow. Some 20 centimeters of snow was dumped on Toronto, shutting down schools. Toronto is expected to brace the winter weather for the remainder of the week, with temperatures expected to dip below 0 degrees Celsius. About 40 centimeters or 15.7 inches of snow fell in the Greater Montreal area, with the Environment and Climate Change Canada forecasting another storm this weekend. To Australia now, where two nurses from Sydney's Bankstown Hospital have been suspended after a TikTok video surfaced showing them making anti-Semitic threats against Israeli patients. The individuals have been identified as Ahmad Rashad Nadir, an Afghan migrant who became an Australian citizen 4 years ago, and Sarah Abu Lebday, reportedly born in Australia to immigrant parents. Now, in this video, they are seen laughing and joking about refusing to treat Israeli patients, with statements such as, "I won't treat them, I will kill them." Prime Minister Anthony Albanese condemned the video as sickening and shameful, emphasizing that such anti-Semitic comments have no place in Australia.
It is very clear to me that these people have committed what are crimes, and they should face the full force of the law.
New South Wales Health Minister Ryan Park assured that the individuals involved will never work for NSW Health again, labeling them as vile, disgusting, and deranged individuals. The incident has prompted a police investigation, with authorities vowing to prosecute the nurses for their actions. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said Beijing's ready to play along with those tougher tariffs from the U.S., but he also called for more dialogue instead of protectionism.
我们当然希望美方能够相向而行，但是如果美方不愿意，
We certainly hope that the U.S. side can move in the same direction.
中国打压和遏制。
But if the U.S. is unwilling,
我们必将
if it continues to suppress and contain China,
我们必将
then we have no other choice. We will play along to the end.
中国的主权、
We will firmly defend China's sovereignty,
国家的
the dignity of our nation,
和我们的正当
and our legitimate right to development,
必将坚决的回击
and we will resolutely counter the U.S.'s actions of unilateralism and bullying.
和霸凌的这种行径。
Speaking at the Munich Security Conference, he emphasized China's goal of mutual respect and peaceful cooperation with the U.S. Recently, Washington raised tariffs by 10%, and now Beijing is hitting back with some of its own. Experts say Wang's words might be a push to help avoid a full-blown trade war. India and the U.S. have agreed to initiate talks aimed at securing an early trade deal and resolving tariff disputes. Following discussions between President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the White House, India has committed to increasing its purchase of U.S. oil, gas, and military equipment, as well as addressing illegal immigration.
Starting this year, we'll be increasing military sales to India by many billions of dollars. We're also paving the way to ultimately provide India with the F-35 stealth fighters. In 2017, my administration revived and reinvigorated the Quad security partnership. In our meeting today, the Prime Minister and I reaffirmed that strong cooperation among the United States, India, Australia, and Japan. And it's crucial, really, to maintaining peace and prosperity, tranquility, even in the Indo-Pacific.
Friends, today we have also set ourselves the target of more than doubling bilateral trade to attain $500 billion by 2030.
$500 billion
Our teams will work on concluding very soon a mutually beneficial trade agreement in order to ensure India's energy security.
Trade agreement ko
We will focus on trade in oil and gas.
भारत की ऊर्जा सुरक्षा सुनिश्चित करने में हम ऑयल तथा गैस ट्रेड को बल
The U.S. will increase military sales to India starting in 2025 and will eventually provide F-35 fighter jets, according to Trump. Trump didn't provide a timeline, but foreign military sales, especially for cutting-edge technology like the stealthy F-35 jet, typically take years to work through. A Trump administration official told reporters earlier that U.S. and Indian officials were also moving forward with talks on a bilateral trade deal, and they hope to have a deal in place this year. This development comes after President Trump criticized India's business environment and announced plans for reciprocal tariffs on countries imposing duties on U.S. imports.
Traditionally, India is right at the top of the pack, pretty much. There are a couple of smaller countries that are actually more, but India is they charge tremendous tariffs.
Meanwhile, Pakistan said that it was deeply concerned a day after President Trump said the U.S. will increase military sales to India starting in 2025 and eventually provide F-35 fighter jets.
Pakistan is also deeply concerned over planned transfer of advanced military technologies to India. Such steps accentuate military imbalances in the region and undermine strategic stability. They remain unhelpful in achieving the objective of a durable peace in South Asia. We urge our international partners to take a holistic and objective view of the issues of peace and security in South Asia and refrain from endorsing positions that are one-sided and divorced from ground realities.
The spokesperson's remarks came after a series of agreements emerged from talks between Trump and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the White House. Now, Trump emphasized the need for Pakistan to take decisive action against terrorism. They also called on Pakistan to prosecute the perpetrators of the 2008 Mumbai and 2016 Pathankot attacks and to prevent its territory from being used for cross-border terrorism. The relationship between India and Pakistan remains intricate, influenced by historical grievances, security concerns, and regional dynamics. While there are efforts to engage diplomatically and through cultural exchanges, underlying tensions, particularly over issues like Kashmir and terrorism, continue to pose challenges to lasting peace and cooperation. Taiwan President Lai Ching-te pledged to talk with the United States about President Donald Trump's concerns over the chip industry and to invest more and buy more from the country while ramping up defense spending. Now, Trump spoke critically about Taiwan on Thursday, saying he aimed to restore U.S. manufacturing of semiconductor chips and repeating claims about Taiwan having taken away the industry he wanted back in the U.S.
And we want it to be made. We want those companies to come to our country, in all due respect. You know, they took the business away. Taiwan took our chip business away. We had Intel, we had these great companies that did so well, and it was taken from us, and we want that business back. We want it back in the United States. And that's what people can do with us. They can build a factory here, a plant or whatever it may be here, and that includes the medical, that includes cars, that includes chips and semiconductors, that includes everything. If you build here, you have no tariffs whatsoever. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think our country is going to be flooded with jobs.
全球的半导体产业是一个生态系，而且
The global semiconductor supply chain is an ecosystem and a division of work among various countries. We, of course, are aware of President Trump's concerns over the manufacturing of chips. Taiwan's government will communicate and discuss with the semiconductor industry and come up with good strategies. Then we will come up with good proposals and engage in further discussions with the United States.
来持续跟美国来进行进一步的沟通啊，不管是提高国防预算。
Regardless, is about increasing the defense budget, increasing purchases from the U.S. or investment in the U.S. These are currently being actively prepared by the government. What's important is Taiwan's government will also strengthen cooperation with the U.S. in the development of artificial intelligence, semiconductor manufacturing, to create a new era of strategic economic partnership between Taiwan and the U.S. the United States.
Taiwan is home to the world's largest contract chip maker, TSMC, a major supplier to companies including Apple and Nvidia, and a crucial part of the developing AI industry. TSMC is investing $65 billion in new factories in the U.S. state of Arizona, a project begun in 2020 under Trump's first administration. TSMC's Taipei-listed shares closed down 2.8% on Friday, underperforming the broader market, which ended off 1.1%. TikTok returned to the U.S. Apple stores of Apple and Google as President Donald Trump delayed a ban on the Chinese-owned social media app and assured the tech giants they would not be fined for distributing or maintaining it. Take a look.
TikTok is back in Apple and Google app stores in the US. Thursday saw it available to download again after some weeks absent. TikTok briefly went dark in the US last month before a law took effect on January 19th, requiring Chinese owner ByteDance to close it or sell it. That was over national security concerns. But on taking office, Donald Trump signed an order delaying the ban for 75 days while he decided on a course of action.
TikTok is worthless if I don't approve it.
Despite that, TikTok remained unavailable in Apple and Google app stores. Exactly why isn't clear, but analysts say the tech giants probably wanted assurances that they wouldn't get in legal trouble for distributing the short video app. TikTok had some 52 million downloads last year, split fairly evenly between Apple and Google. On Thursday, Trump said the 75-day ban delay could be prolonged if necessary.
And I'm sure it can be extended, but let's see, I don't think you'll need to. We have a lot of people interested in TikTok, and I hope to be able to make a deal. I think it would be good.
The president has floated the idea of TikTok being sold to various US parties, including Elon Musk and Oracle. Last month, he said he wanted the US to have a 50% stake in any new joint venture set up to own the app.
The dazzling colors of the Aurora were captured over Canada from NASA's International Space Station on January 4, and the footage released to the public on Sunday, February 9. The Aurora Borealis, also known as the Northern Lights, are an effect of energetic particles which can speed out from the sun both in a steady stream called the solar wind and due to giant eruptions known as coronal mass ejections, or CMEs. And finally in our news, a kayaker in southern Chile has survived a truly incredible encounter with a humpback whale. Adrian Simancas was paddling with his father near Punta Arenas when the massive creature surfaced and, for a few terrifying seconds, swallowed him whole. Take a look. Simancas described the moment he was engulfed, saying he initially thought a powerful wave had lifted him. He then saw something blue and white near his face before everything went dark. He told reporters, "I went under and thought I had been swallowed." His father, Del Simancas, captured the astonishing event on camera. He recounted hearing a loud crash and then witnessing his son disappear beneath the surface. "That was the only moment of real fear," he said, "because I didn't see Adrian for about 3 seconds. Then he suddenly shot out." Understandably, Adrian Simancas feared the worst. "I thought I was done for," he explained, "that I was dead. It was like 3 strange seconds down there." Remarkably, the whale quickly released Simancas and both father and son returned to shore unharmed. A truly remarkable survival story. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Have a great weekend. Good night.